Welcome to a special After Dark episode of Indie-mation Conversation for Adults.
On steroids. Literally on steroids.
Literally, that is literally happening.
Indie. Indie-mation.
Animation.
Indie-mation. Conversation.
Talking about movie pictures and cartoons and whatnot.
All right.
Thank you for being here under such weather.
Yeah, it was negative 9 today. So, yeah, it's a little cold.
It dipped down to the very, very low 70s today.
Ooh.
Very low 70s, not mid 70s.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Hard to handle.
I
So
wear a
I'm only
jacket.
80 degrees below you.
Stop complaining.
I'm not. I don't have to go outside if I don't want to.
And you're almost dead, too.
Yeah, there is always that. I could, just not be here.
Yes, so
This is definitely a possibility. So
I think everyone out there, I think you need to give Cory his props if you haven't already, because that's pretty amazing. I know Michael Jordan played with the flu, but Cory's about to enter the fourth quarter with the coronavirus. So
right. I don't know what I have, but it has rendered.
I thought we dubbed it the coronavirus, didn't we?
Yeah, I think you actually did that, and the universe was like, okay, let's see how this works. So
because I'm a jerk. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm a 39-year-old man that's currently walking with a cane because I have no balance, and so that's fun.
You're perfect to be an animator.
Right.
You've got a character now.
Crotchety old man hobbling around the pharmacy. I was in line in the okay, here's the thing. I was in line in the pharmacy today for an hour, waiting, leaning on this dumb cane because I can't stand up by myself. While the person and there was 3 people in front of me. One of them was trying to pay with a 2-day-old expired coupon. One of them decided that they needed to call no fewer than 3 other people on the phone to consult on how to pay for the thing. And some of them paid portions of whatever. And then the third one just had lots of questions. So that was at least 45 to 60 minutes of me just standing there.
That sounds like they were staged prop actors.
It really was, yeah.
To make you die, and you didn't.
There's hey, see that guy who has no business leaning on that cane because he's perfectly healthy. Let's make him really sell this. He's really if he's going for sympathy, he's gonna have to earn it.
Scott Cirkland says it was up to about 80 degrees at his house.
Yeah, so that's nice.
See, anyway. I have friends in both spectrums of the thermometer.
Yeah, we got lots of people in the chats today, and Ronnie, I think, has a new avatar. That's looking cool.
So let's
do it.
Before we go any further,
let's not do it.
I wanted to bring up something that, in case we don't have any for this show, if anybody has any questions, type them in the question feed, and we'll do like a mailbag segment towards the end of the show. We'll answer your questions, because I don't even know. Do we have any questions from past? I couldn't make up any. It was enough time.
I've been largely unconscious for the last several days, so I don't know.
Your only question you heard was, Cory.
There, hey.
Wake up, Cory. Open your eyes.
I am not allowed to bend over or to lift anything up. I tried to tie my shoes this morning, and I fell over, and I forgot that I wasn't supposed to bend over. So
and there's Scott Cirkland's next T-shirt. I forgot not to bend over.
I forgot not to bend over.
So, speaking of, this is the adult animation show.
Yes.
But I want to say I feel very strongly about this topic because adult animation isn't always what you're thinking. When you say, I hate the word adult animation, I hate it almost as much as I hate getomation. I'm kidding.
It's like when you say, it's in comics. They're like, it's all ages. And so everybody's like, oh, so that means it's for kids?
Kids, yeah.
No,
yeah.
it means that there's not certain things in it.
And you know what? It's a battle we'll never win. It's a
Yeah.
battle. Adult animation will always make a lot of people think adult animation, and all ages show will always bring to mind kids.
Right.
You just go to the most common extreme denominator.
Right. And people have kind of ruined that term as if so let's frame this. What we're talking about today is, what is adult animation? And is there a better term to use when you're talking about animation that is not necessarily intended for children, but is also not necessarily an extreme into pornographic or anything along those lines? It's just the audience isn't intended for an older audience. It's storytelling for an older audience done with animation. And in the States, it seems like there's not a term for that.
Right.
I don't want to say mature audiences.
They have a term for it in France. It's called animation.
Right. Exactly.
Like that one. That was a good one. Write that down.
Your assistant off to the side.
Don't make me hit you with the belt again, because I will. Yeah, it's just they have all kinds of genres of animation in lots of countries, not just France, but France is my favorite probably. But I mean, China, Japan, anime is adult animation, but they don't call it adult animation.
Well, and it's kind of like the same thing, like animation, and this is what drives me nuts. Animation is a type of media. It is not a genre. And
Right.
So when you go in and you say, like a lot of the award shows and things like that, they're like, are you drama? Are you comedy? Are you tragedy? Are you horror? Are you animation? And it's like, why are you separating that? I can tell all of those stories in a cartoon just as easily as I can do live action. So I don't understand how it's like the same thing as saying, like, oh, is it fiction? Is it nonfiction? Or is it a comic book? What?
Yeah. I don't know how it became. Well, I guess I do know how it became associated with kids versus adult animation, because the first animations that became popular in the United States were primarily, younger, like the Mickey Mouse stuff, the Bugs Bunny. We all were raised with animation as kids, so it's almost like saying if they made a really sweet adult cereal, and didn't call it Fruity Pebbles or Tricks or whatever, which they do. They just call them like clusters or whatever.
Right.
But chocolate clusters with bran. I don't know. It's a simple fix, but it's something that I don't know if it'll ever get past the public perception of what adult animation sounds like. When you go to, give an example, if you were to go talk in front of a group of 10-year-olds and they're like, what does your dad do for a living? He makes adult animation. They're like, yeah.
Right.
So my dad watches adult animation.
Right.
So I don't know if it's a battle we'll ever win, but I do know that you hit the nail on the head. There's a ton of, within the word adult animation, it varies. There is adult animation.
Sure.
And then there's people like me that do really weird, strange stuff, but it's not like R-rated, really.
Right. And the same, I mean, my animated short, there is some gun violence that is symbolic, but you see it. And I was told specifically, you cannot enter this into any children's categories. And I was like, well, I was never intending to. They're not the audience. They wouldn't even get any of the metaphors or anything that are going on in it. You know, I mean, it's a silent, it's not silent, but it's a dialogueless metaphor for the distribution industry that is distributing films in Hollywood today. And it's not meant for children, but it's also, there's no nudity, there's no swearing, there's no, there's nothing in it that would make it adult. It's just the audience is intended to be people who are more mature, who understand, like a distribution model of a business. So,
the only other thing that they tag the word adult on like that is diapers. So, which and adult cereal. Salazar Art Nation says adult cereal.
yeah. So so here's the thing. I find it interesting. Let's talk really old animation. Go back prior to the FCC, and you will see animation that was intended for adults because adults were making it, and nobody at that point in time had judged that, oh, cartoons are for kids. It was pre-Bugs Bunny, and you saw people having weird fever dreams, and there's all kinds of alcohol and people making deals with the devil and, doing a little soft shoe dance across the thing as a skeleton comes and steals their skin and they die. It was just like, hey, this is stuff that we can't shoot with actors.
Mm-hmm.
So let's draw it. And it's all kinds of crazy cool stuff. And then as we transitioned into Disney, Warner Brothers, that type of thing, you still had stuff like Popeye. And if you listen to what Popeye says under his breath, there is no person under the age of 15 who's going to get those references. I mean, he is, and there's nothing gross. It's just he is talking about this stream of consciousness that he's mumbling under his breath about relationships and marriage and socioeconomic situations. And it's kind of like Rocky and Bullwinkle. When you look at Rocky and Bullwinkle, they had a lot of jokes that were there for the parents so that the parents could be like, I get that. And the kids are there for the funny gags and cartoons.
Rocky and Bullwinkle, I'm fully convinced, was made for the animators. They made it for themselves. All the jokes, and then it just happened to be kids happened to like it. Looked kid friendly, and I think it's kind of a mixed. It's kind of a thing that turned into sort of to a curse because I think the United States mastered kid animation.
Yeah,
like with Disney and with Warner Brothers and even going forward into Hanna-Barbera and all that stuff. We really mastered it more than anyone, I think, in the world, but we did it so well that it became our thing. And then now in the last 20 years, 25 years or whatever, the term adult animation was created because of guys like Bill Plimpton, Ralph Bakshi, a number of other ones, but and what's funny too is, speaking of anime is insane. The amount of money anime makes and the amount of anime that there is, and I'm very jealous and very I admire what they've done because it's not even a question in Japan. You can release a film about a really adult subject and they're not, oh, this is a cartoon. It's just, it became like what I wish we had here. I wish there was all kinds of different films in it. There are, but I wish it was a normal thing. Like you turn on ABC and you're going to see, a drama that's an animated drama, something like that. That's not a special thing, because it's animation is a media, like you said, not a genre, right?
Well, and we're looking at, I think the one area where it's acceptable in the States is in comedy. And so, you've got some more mature cartoons in the comedy realm. And as long as they stay funny, they're okay, but nobody will watch them unless they're funny, because how would you even pitch like a dramatic, like medical show or, like a serial or a cop, a buddy cop. I mean, you take any of the things that you can do on television, and you can do those things for an older audience as long as it's funny. But if it's not a comedy, even though there's a ton of different types of I wonder two things. I wonder, one, if that is the part of the censors, the part of the people with the money that are, going to hand out the gatekeepers, the ones that are going to, hand out the green lights or not, or if it's the inclination of the cartoonists themselves. If they're like, I can do this gag because I can draw it and it'll be funnier if I draw it, so I want this to be an animated cartoon. Or if it's not that, why not just hire actors? It's easier.
Yeah.
Shoot it.
I mean, part of it is I think in Japan there's so many more studios making animation. I would think. I mean, otherwise it's insane. Otherwise they're doing an insane amount with just a few studios.
Yeah.
And out here we have Adult Swim, which is a perfect example. They put the word adult
Right.
in it. And now they've kind of branded a style of animation. Even if I've had people tell me, "Oh, your stuff's like Adult Swim," like that's an adjective they use.
Right.
And it's a compliment always, usually, because that means, oh, it's kind of hip and it's kind of not for kids, but not, X-rated.
Right.
When Ralph Bakshi did Fritz the Cat, that was, I think, the first really, as far as I know, recognized adult animation, and that was X-rated. That was really like hardcore.
Mhm.
So it was like that kind of set a precedent, I think, a little bit too, where this is what adult animation is. It's got to be really hardcore. But then, ironically, a few years later, he would do Lord of the Rings. There were films in between.
Yeah.
But, and then Lord of the Rings was, in my opinion, was very mainstream. I loved it as a kid. I saw it and I was blown away by it. Cool World. Yeah, Cool World was after Lord of the Rings. And then we go all the way up until, there's been plenty of stuff, but Beavis and Butthead movie.
Yeah.
That's considered adult animation, but see, that kind of pushed the genre, in this direction. Or it just, I don't know. I think
I would argue a lot of that stuff was intended more for teenagers than for adults.
Mm-hmm.
Even though parents might be annoyed at teenagers watching it or whatever. I mean, if you're looking at Beavis and Butthead, which I caught every once in a while on MTV as a teen, and then like Liquid Television was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Experimental animation. I mean, that blew my mind. I mean, you had Sam Keith's comic, The Max, was animated, and then you had Eon Flux, and Plimpton was in there a few times, and it was just these little weird things. But like a lot of that, you're looking at like 16 to 18 or 16 to 24. It's not so much adult as it was just kind of more shocking than what you were allowed to watch when you were in junior high.
Mm-hmm.
And just different, and it's kind of like, and I don't think any of that means that it's bad or good or whatever. What I'm saying is, like, my daughter's 10 and she's a voracious reader. She's got a goal to read more than 50 new books this year. And she's ahead of her goal. But there are certain books where I'm like, maybe wait till you're 12 or 13. And I don't think there's, anything in them that is going to hurt her or anything. I just think there are certain levels of maturity and understanding and interest. And
did you let her read the Anarchist Cookbook?
No, but I don't know that she doesn't exist. I was in high school when that came out on the internet, and it was one of the few things on the internet.
I'm hoping to animate that, by the way, as an adult anime.
That would be awesome.
So.
I'm still hoping to grow the explosive crystals that are I had a plan that I never did. And by plan, I mean, stupid crap that you talk about at lunch in high school. It was right about the time, this is before drones. So drones weren't a thing, but radio control airplanes were a thing. And so I had a guy that I knew at church who is an adult, and one of his side gigs was he would crop dust with aphids into crops, right? But he'd use this big kind of 8-foot wide radio control plane, and we had worked out a plan to have a servo By we, I mean my friends and I, to see if we could borrow his plane and have a servo that would open a bomber bay full of those explosive crystals that we read about in the Anarchist Cookbook. Anyway,
See, Cory, and now then you wonder why the government shuts you down every week.
I know every single week they shut me down, and I just don't get it. I don't understand it.
Some Salazar Art Nation mentioned King of the Hill. King of the Hill is a great example of how you can take something that looks one way. It looks like very cartoony, very non-realistic, but the writing was so good and the characters were so good that it lasted such a long time. One of the best examples. Yeah,
and so in Beavis and Butthead, it was an interesting show because it was a vehicle for music videos. I mean,
I like the look of it. I thought it was interesting because it looked like the drawings that would be on somebody's Peachy folder. It looked like I used to draw and still do kind of.
Well, and I mean, it was during a time at the same time that was on. That came off on the heels of a rather drastic change on Nickelodeon, where you went from what they were doing before, and they shifted over to kind of Rugrats, Rocco's Modern Life, that type of thing. There was a drastic shift in the style of illustration that they were animating, where the line quality was intentionally more, I don't know what you would call that, less clean. It looked more hand drawn and shaky. It did look a lot more like, anybody could do this, and it was an interesting shift away from the pristine and the perfect.
Wouldn't it be cool? I would want to start an independent animation network that shows films, independent. I mean, that would be the ultimate, and then shorts and everything like that.
Okay, streaming channels that are out there, if you are listening, Jim and I will host. We'll do it. Just give us the thing. We will we'll curate, we'll host. I just want I want to do little anthologies of little collections of shorts and films, and we'll just do it online. And I mean, I think people would love it. I think you could gain an audience, and you could do it every other week or release an episode.
It's going to happen. There's more and more people making animated films, and getting into animation than ever before. It's easier and cheaper, and your mind is the gatekeeper now. Scott, there's your other T-shirt, by the way.
Yeah, we're just going to keep giving Scott T-shirts all night. That's kind of that's the idea there. So, okay. So my question is, when you're pitching a film, how do you differentiate that it is not intended for children, but also doesn't really fit what people think of when they think of the term adult animation? Because I feel like when I'm trying to describe some stuff that I've worked on, I don't do it well. I say things like, it's kind of weird. Just, I don't know if your kids will like it. Or
give me your 30-second elevator pitch for your film, your real one.
So I mean, I think the description alone just bores children anyway, and so I think they but I say, an artist sells the rights to his book and finds out that the publishing deal is not what he anticipated, and this is where I restrain myself from saying hijinks ensue, because that doesn't happen.
I love hijinks.
Then after that, if I've got more time, I talk about it's a metaphor for the disparity in pay between those that come up with and execute the ideas and those that distribute the ideas, and how the machine is broken in that the distribution has an undue advantage financially to those that are actually creating the value for the audience.
And kids love that. Come on.
Right. And everybody's like, oh, macroeconomics. Yeah.
Mommy, I want the macroeconomics action figure.
Right.
Let me give you my pitch, and I will never use the word adult animation in it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll take all that glitters. A down on his luck entertainment agent has his cash cow get arrested. I always throw in the word rapper because the kids and that rap, they love that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Gets his rapper cash cow client gets arrested, so he has to find another source of income while trying to bail this guy out of jail, and unknowingly gets involved with a new group that brings in some Eastern European crime figures along for the ride, and hijinks ensue and macroeconomics fun. But I don't have like a 3-word pitch for any of my things. Usually I'm too talkative. I think it's fantastic when I see filmmakers, comic book makers, writers out there that can summarize their work and make you go, wow, really? You know who's really good at that? Is a master of it. Master of it. I have a friend named Javier Hernandez. Look him up. He's not the soccer player, but look up El Muerto. El Muerto, what else has he done? He's done a bunch of stuff, but Javier Hernandez, really good at summarizing his work. And when he talks about it, makes you want to see it, And mine, when I talk about my work, people go, wow, dude, is he all right? So I let the work speak for itself. But I never use the word adult animation. That's never a selling point. It's never a selling point for what I do. In fact, I wish there was another word for adult animation. I wish we could call it, what do you make? What do you do? Oh, I make swarmies. Oh, swarmies. I love swarmy. I don't know, something.
Right. Well, we should just coin a term.
Kerfuddle.
Yeah, everybody in the chat.
Gaffoon. Somebody in the chat, throw some better descriptions, more catchy for adult animation.
I do think indie animation.
Yes.
I do think that does carry a better description of what's going on. Because
indie animation has no stigma to it. In fact, it's the opposite. You say, I'm an indie animator. Somebody that's in the business, even they have to go, wow, that's noble.
Right.
You're broke, aren't you?
Right. So you put in a huge amount of backbreaking work over long periods of time for no results. That's amazing.
Yeah, keep it going, son. I'm going to go burn another $100 bill.
Right. So, but I do like the idea of indie animation as a descriptor, because the majority of the people that are producing indie animation are doing it for a audience that appreciates things that are not commercial.
Telepathy. You said exactly what I'm thinking. Or did I make you say that?
Yeah, either way.
That's exactly what I was thinking right there. Exactly. Indie animation has the same cachet to it as adult animation does for a negative side. If you say indie animation, I think most people think adult animation, but they just don't think the word adult animation, or they don't think dirty. Indie animation. I try to use indie animator as much as possible. When I describe myself, that and glorious salsa dancer, those words.
Right. Yeah. When I think of flamenco, I think of Jim Lujan.
When I think of phlegm, I think of Cory Kerr right now.
That currently is more accurate than you want to know. I have video of a scope camera to prove it. So
that's adult animation.
That is no, seriously. If I animated what happened to me yesterday, that was fascinating. The guy.
You have video of the scope stuff?
Yeah, I asked.
Can you use it in an animation?
Sure. I asked him. I said, "Hey," he said, "I'm going to stick this camera up your nose to look at your eustachian tube," and I said, "Can I film it?" He's like, "Sure." So I held it up, and and here's the gross part. Content warning, those of you watching this show about what is adult animation.
By the way, what you're about to hear right now is exactly why Cory's my friend.
He sticks the camera up my nose, and I don't know, like, I'm sure it feels like it goes way farther back than it actually does, but it went pretty dang far
into the brain.
I'm watching it like go in, right? And then he hits this area that is where my inner ear drains into this cavern that is drained by my eustachian tube down into my throat. And it sits there, and he starts talking to me about what's going on. And then it fills with pus, and the camera gets covered. And so he's like, oh, hold on, I can't see anything. And so he has to pull the camera all the way back out and like sanitize it and then stick it back in. And so I have 2 different videos of both attempts. And the second one, he kind of went in a little higher because he wasn't aware of how much fluid was in there. But I looked at it and it was weird. And he was doing the doctor thing where if it was like a normal dude that wasn't a doctor, he'd be like, whoa. But he was doing the thing where it was like, yeah, that is a concerning amount of pus there. And, that's sitting on a nerve, which is why you can't walk. And you are probably hours away from your eardrum bursting. So we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. Normally I just put you on an oral steroid, but this is, you're being attacked fairly aggressively by this, particular thing. And I'm like, dude, just say, whoa, that's all I want to hear. Is,
Show Scott's comment. I think that sums it up for the entire audience.
Yeah. I think that's good. So anyway, that's why I have, and let me tell you, I want to show you guys something that is really stupid. Hold on just a second. I am 39 years old. I have a custom collapsible cane.
You're a daredevil.
I know. And so I can like fling it out and then it straightens. And I am daredevil because there's even like a string on the inside.
Nunchucks.
Yeah. So anyway, I got this because the arch of my foot fell 2 months ago. And now
we're getting into the medical. There's so many things I want to ask you.
I know. I'm just telling you that I am falling apart, and I have been in over 15 car accidents. I have had 3 falls unassisted direct to concrete or rock over 30 feet. Scuba diving.
How many assisted falls?
Oh, a ton, because I used to rock climb all the time, right? With the ropes or whatever.
Oh,
anyway,
no.
I was giving my medical history to one of the chiropractors that I was going to after I got rear-ended. I was hit on my bicycle by a car while I was ready to work. And then 3 weeks later, I was rear-ended. And so I had compound whiplash from both of those incidents. And the guy, his eyes just got wider and wider and wider and wider as I was going through all of this. And anyway, he said, so you shouldn't be walking or have the use of any of your limbs. And I'm fine. So anyway.
That's crazy. You're like a stuntman, but without the glory of being on film.
Right.
That's terrible. And see, kids, this is what happens to you when you become an indie animator.
Right.
All of this. Wow.
So anyway,
that's a whole nother episode. We got to do Cory's medical.
My medical history. The reason that it's possible for my neck to bend certain angles. Yeah,
it explains your films a little bit better now.
Probably, yeah. The soft tissue damage to my neural system. We actually did an episode or 2 of the art check where we just went through and told crazy stories.
Oh, I think I saw that one. Yeah. And that got gross as well too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right. So back to adult animation.
Right. So I could animate that scene, and then it would somehow be some sort of metaphor for something that's going on. I don't know. Probably politics right now. I feel like is scoping out an inflamed cavern of phlegm.
If you were going to do politics, it would have to be the other end, scoped out. That would be more appropriate. You could go that way. So, okay, I'm going to tell you my dream. I touched a little bit upon this earlier, but I do have a dream, and that is you can't walk into a video store anymore. So let's just say you have an at-home platform like a Netflix. And it's all independent animation. It's some studio animation maybe slips in there, but it's mainly all independent animation from animators all over the world. You have feature films, you have shorts, you have series, you have interviews, you have tutorials for animators, by animators, but mainly for the public. That is my dream. I want to see that happen. And if there's any way I can make it happen, by golly, I'm going to do it. And if you elect me, I will let you down.
I like how that "you will let them down" is your campaign.
Let us down.
New
Let
Line
us down. I am truthful. Yep. But that would really truthfully be the ultimate playground. And it would give a lot of creators out there a reason, something to shoot for. Because right now, indie animators, it's starting to happen slowly. There's things like Tubi, and there's all kinds of
Mondo.
There's tons of platforms out there. But I think if there was one main hub for indie animators, so I want somebody that has a lot of money out there to get that ball rolling, and I'll help you steer that ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like cable or dish is desperate enough at this point in time to avoid being cut on the cord to throw a channel like that out. I bet you could get a cable channel to do it. But yes, that's so another t-shirt, Scott Lujan. So one of my dreams is I want Jim Lujan merch, and you just got another store. You just got another shirt. You want 2020, he will let you down.
Yeah, that's the guarantee. What if I let people down by not letting them down? That would be very meta.
You promise that you let them down, and by succeeding, you don't let them down, which lets them down because you didn't meet your promise.
So I have a little mini adult animation announcement. I 3 times in the last 24 hours have had this message come to me. Lujan versus Astley. That's really funny. I'm never going to let you down. In 3 times in the last 24 hours, it was suggested to me that a good way to build a following online social media is to do really little, not only, but in addition to my big projects, these little animated shorts, 1 minute, 30 seconds, and consistently put them out regularly. Yeah. So that is my goal, my immediate goal. I'm going to start doing that because I feel like I need to build my numbers from YouTube, Instagram, the whole bit, especially YouTube. I get in a shockingly low amount of hits for the amount of work that I put out. And I'm not trying to be greedy. I just think I'm leaving no money on the table. I'm leaving zero money on the table. But I just think it's an opportunity. I think I can do something to help that grow and build upon that. And it's something very basic. And it's something I told myself at the beginning of the year I was going to do anyway. So let's see how that goes as an experiment. And everybody out there, tell everybody to subscribe to my YouTube page too when you're at it.
And I did that. I did that for a little bit where I was doing little 30 to 60 second animations, more experimental than storytelling. But they got way more traffic, not huge numbers, but way more traffic on Instagram than I normally get. And I've been trying to decide what to do with them because I now have, I don't know, 6 of them or something, and they're odd, but I don't know what to do with them or where to put them. Other than I just put them up one time and then I don't know. So I'm thinking some sort of channel or something where I can, or maybe a reel. Maybe I'll collect 5 or 6 of them.
You put them inside your ear canal all the way.
Drains down my
I'm telling you, man, that indie animation channel, you got to think of a cool name for it, like Keyframe or something, but like a network. There's the vid.
This is one that serves no purpose other than I just wanted to do that. I just had this weird idea, and there it is. That's it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and then this guy,
I love this guy.
He's actually part of something I'm working on now, but at the time it wasn't.
Wow.
And this is kind of what I end up doing for. This is all stuff for the animation that I'm working on now. So
I
I'm
watched
working
you
on
building that truck and the logic behind everything, and I'm like, wow, you could actually probably have built that truck in real life. That's incredible.
yeah. I mean, just like and this is I don't know how much thought goes into some stuff, but like I like the thing where it's like, yeah, I could see why that is the way it is. You know what I mean? Like this fits within the rules of the world that I'm doing, because the protagonist of the story can't use anything that has a networked computer or that could be affected negatively by an EMP. And so this is built out of all stuff that's pre 1989, and out of things that you could salvage.
That's
And
really incredible. The thought that goes into that. That's really solid.
yeah, so it'll be fun. And then
Thank God they didn't have drones when you were a teenager.
right.
I'd be talking to you, but like, you have 10 minutes left with the inmate.
You have the yeah. I mean, I don't know how kids grow up today with the internet, because the things that I thought at 17, no one at 17 is the same person, and I definitely wasn't. I don't know if I've grown out of that, but yeah, I'm glad that my thoughts were said at lunch to other idiots rather than eternally on the internet.
Rather than on Twitter or something.
Right, exactly.
Well, before we get to an hour mark, I wanted to share something else with you related to adult animation, or at least my animation. A couple of things. One is, if you want to know how I do my animation, check out the last episode. It's self-explanatory how Jim does his animation. I kind of break it down, the whole method. If you want to learn how Cory does his animation, check out the episode before that.
Yes.
Episode 3 and 4. And we both go over Cory, yours was very like a tutorial, like a technical, it was like a how-to, like literally, this is how I do this. This moves. Like I watched it and I'm like, I know how to use After Effects now.
Yeah.
Completely know how to use it now.
Yeah. And I watched yours and I thought, that's probably what people would want, is more of like a process rather than what I did, which was just this really long. So this is yours, right? You have this nice.
Yeah, there's the idea, the outline, the character. Yeah, because I spend so much time in that area, and then I guess it's 50-50, because look at the other half is creating it, and I mean, these are my storyboards. That when I do use storyboards, I'm making a film right now that I storyboarded out some scenes, and I'm already going to my normal habit of going off the path.
Yeah.
Like, because what happens is, as I build it, I go, wait a minute, it feels like this would work better than this, and then I just change it on the fly.
Yeah. And it feels like I don't do that because I assume it feels like that, but I actually do. I do that as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is mine. The first thing is, here's my storyboards and my animatic and everything. And then immediately I'm like, all right, let's spend 25 minutes of me explaining really boring equations in the software.
But if somebody's really, they can use your show as a Bible for After Effects. Like
right.
they can, if they're working on a scene, they can come back here and say, this is explained. It's not just like, oh, here's this, and just figure it out on your own. You're explaining what it is. So, we get both ends of the spectrum of work methods. Mine is I kind of keep things super simple. And then yours is that you use as much of the technology, you make the most out of it, to humanize it.
Yeah. And I think I don't know. And I might be overthinking this, but I do believe that my process is still pretty simple once you understand maybe 3 or 4 key things. And once you get those 3 or 4 key things, everything I'm doing is to not have to do all of the hard work.
It's funny. I'm just noticing something about your stuff. It's very technically built, but it's organic creatures. Like you use a
Right.
lot of insects and, you know,
Do you want
animals.
to? Scott asked me one time why I use insects, and my real reason for using skeletons and insects and stuff like that is when I do this with my arm, all of the wrinkles in my elbow and the wrinkles and stuff in my shoulder, that's so much work. But if you have an insect, it's all ball and socket joints. And so it's so easy because one part covers the other part, and I could just do that. And it makes it infinitely easier. And so that's actually why I've started doing stuff like this, where I do have to deal with cloth and joints and stuff like that. But
That's part of the fun of creating characters, be it insects or humans, is that the expressive in their actions, the expressiveness of their like emotions and stuff, it comes through.
yeah.
And
Yeah, and one of the guys that we're going to have on the show at some point, he's a friend of mine. Worked on a bunch of like known stuff, and I'll leave his name out until he agrees to come on the show. But I'm deciding he's on the show. He hasn't said yes, but he said that he teaches animation. He said, you know what I like about a lot of this stuff is that when people don't know what they're doing, they automatically give, like there's a weird like limp or a weird like wiggle or something in like a walk cycle, and it gets too perfect once people get better at it.
yeah, I could see what you mean. Yeah,
It's like, I like the character, I like the personality of the kind of between amateur and expert. You know, once you get to the expert though, you add the limp intentionally. You know,
yeah,
when you
yeah.
back off that, and it's somebody who's just technically proficient, and then you back off that, and you've got somebody who that limp is there because they can't help it.
There's something to be said too about if you're going to do animation like mine that's limited, then keep it pretty limited, because the creepiest thing is when you almost achieve a certain style but you're not there yet, and
Right.
creepy, or it takes the audience out of, like if somebody's trying to do realistic animation and they almost got it, it's worse than if they did really super limited animation and just convey the idea.
Right.
I won't name names, but there's certain 3D movies out there that the characters look kind of dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Talking about Cory stuff again. I'm sorry.
yeah, my 3D stuff.
His 3D stuff. You got it.
I will name names on some of that stuff. Did
Did you do 3D stuff?
Oh.
Okay, because if you did, then that joke's really sad, not funny. Okay.
No, the reason I don't do 3D is because I feel like 3D done well takes like 200 people.
Yeah.
You know, when you're doing it really well, you need to be part of an assembly line, or it's going to take you like 5 years for like, 2 minutes of animation or something. So anyway, but I have toyed with 3D, and it always ends up looking like those knockoff animations, like whenever Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, Blue Sky or whoever, they come out with something that's public domain, but they do their own spin on it. One of the knockoff companies comes out with like, and it kind of looks like a poorly rendered VeggieTales, version of the same thing. It's like the Littlest Mermaid.
Yeah.
And our character also has red hair. It's just like, and it just looks terrible.
Snowy white.
Right. Yeah. Snowy white. Yeah, exactly. There's always, the transmorphers, robots who disguise themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, there's always something along those lines. Anyway, so yeah, I also think like in 2D and 2.5D, which is what I do, it's kind of halfway in between. You have the aspect, you get to show off your illustration, and that's something that I think is missing in a lot of modern movements is the human touch of things. And we're just because the computer can do it doesn't mean the computer should do it. Like
Yeah.
people value things that are done by hand. That's why stop motion is like incredible, because people are like, are you kidding me? I almost like watching the stop motion making of videos as much as I enjoy watching the movie itself, because you see this person moving it one frame at a time. That's incredible.
It's awesome. Stop motion. I love stop motion animation.
Yeah.
You know what else? Paper cutout animation is insane, especially when you get somebody like, there's a guy named Eric Power. Everybody go Google Eric Power. He did Path of Blood and Attack of, what's his new one called? Well, you can't see his new one online anyways yet, but insanely cool stuff, and knows how to use the medium for what it is. But paper cutout animation is kind of really cool. That's why animation, like you said, it wouldn't be a genre. It's a method, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's all kinds of different styles of animation.
Right.
And they're all the ones that work are the ones that tell a story. That's so cliche to say. We just want to tell the audience a story, but it's true.
Yeah.
And the story could be, and I always use Pulp Fiction as an example because it's my favorite film, but Pulp Fiction's story isn't linear and it's really jumbled and, but it's a story nonetheless. It works. And so a story is just something that the audience watches and they go, I'm satisfied. I wasn't satisfied till the end of the movie. Now that I see the end, it explains all this. It could be you can make it linear or whatever, but I'm very big on story, telling some kind of a story.
Yeah. Well, we should do an episode on that, but story is key. Brian McDonald wrote a book called The Invisible Ink, which is kind of like a how to tell good stories. And it's a phenomenal book. Then he wrote The Golden Theme, and there's stuff in The Golden Theme that will be with me for the rest of my life, because he's talking about how humans are hardwired for stories. Like we have no genetic memory. Well, we have a little bit of genetic memory. Like people are born with the ability to grasp things with their hands, the instinct to like hold their breath when somebody blows in their face, and to suck on things, right? And without that, that we would not make it. We couldn't eat, we'd drown, And so there's kind of that. But beyond that, we don't know how to hunt or how to find our own food or how to survive crossing the street or how to walk. And most animals, a few days to a few weeks, and they're like, see you, Mom, and they're out.
Yeah.
It takes humans like 25 years before we're ready to be like, I'm on my own, right? And that's 25 years of adults telling children stories for survival. Let's talk about how you should be in a relationship. Let me tell you a story. Let's talk about how you wear your seatbelt. Let me tell everybody's mom must have had the worst life ever because she knows somebody who has died every single way that there is to die. I had a friend who didn't wear a seatbelt and he's dead. Every safety thing is, I knew somebody who touched the stove when they weren't supposed to and they're dead. And so, but all of those stories, they stick with us. And I know not to eat the red berries because so-and-so ate the red berries and she was sick and missed school, or whatever. I have to wear my helmet because that one kid, 10 years ago didn't wear his helmet as he was going down the hill, and he walks funny now, we tell each other these stories. I still wear a helmet on my motorcycle, even though this doesn't make any sense, because my mom told me a story about her friend who was decapitated on a motorcycle, and my helmet does not cover my neck. I could still be decapitated.
Well, Cory, you're going to have to wear the helmet in the house pretty soon. I didn't want to.
If
you keep going, falling down like you are.
I probably should. So anyway, I think stories are important. But
that's a really great point. I've never heard anybody bring that up before. But how it's
read that book. It's really good.
The Golden Theme. You should have just taken credit for it. I would have believed you.
And he's got a podcast now. I can't remember what it's called, but he is.
What's the author's name again?
Brian McDonald.
Ryan McDonald, The Golden Theme. Brian McDonald.
Yeah.
Michael McDonald.
Right. Yeah.
Yamo be there.
Charles McDermott. Yeah, but he's really accessible on Twitter too. If you reach out to him, he answers questions and stuff. He's great. But he is part of, I don't know what company he's working for now, but some sort of storytelling something where they consult on stories. And he's been called into major studios to help them fix story problems. He's kind of like a story fixer. And now he's just giving all the secrets away on his podcast and in his books, and they're phenomenal. They're not long either. Really good stuff.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, do we have anything from a mailbag?
Nobody asked any questions, but we did get a lot of suggestions on names. The Indie Check, or the Book of Kermation, or the Animat Check. And then Frank was suggesting that maybe we do a version of Jaws 3D. So yeah, I think all of those are excellent ideas.
And he also wrote, "The Human Touch will be my adult animation." And at first I thought it said The Human Torch.
Yeah.
Which I was like, that's good, but it's taken, isn't it?
Yeah. But The Human Touch, depending on the story, that might fit with the expectation of what people think. So who knows? So anyway, yeah. So there's lots of good stuff. But yeah, leave us. What do you guys want to talk about? Leave us that in the.
If there's any topics you guys want to talk about, and if you have any other alternate names for adult animation, please pass that around. Yeah. Please share the links for these shows with your friends. One day somebody will probably inherit this show, and it hopefully will go like the Art Check and Artcasters has gone, where it revolves hosts. I'm saying this because I think I have a limited battery, although it hasn't run out yet. I still have a lot of topics I want to talk about.
We're 4, 5 episodes in, right? What is this?
Yeah. Episode
4.
This is 4 or 5?
Yeah, we're 4.
4. No, this is 5, I think.
5?
Yeah, because 3 was your tutorial, 4 was my tutorial.
Yeah, okay. I named it wrong. So this is 5.
So 3 plus 4 is 7. So this is 7.
This is why I'm
it.
a cartoonist.
And give them CoryKerr.com. No, .com, IMC.
If you go to this address, whenever Jim and I decide to do one of these shows, I will put it here as soon as I find out that we're doing it. And so it'll always say the next episode is going to be on the whatever, and we'll have it there.
And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'm going to have Cory come and sneeze on you, and then he's going to hit you with his cane.
Right. It might take me a while, and I will be slowed if you have stairs, but
he will get you.
I will find you.
Yes.
I have a very specific set of skills, and they are hindered and limited currently by my inability to walk. So, but anyway, if you want to see my stuff, go to CoryKerr.com. All of it is there on that link tree. And if you want to see Jim's stuff, I'm trying to find his link, but it's in the description here, and you can just go to jimlujan.com and type in.
And go to youtube.com/Jim Lujan. I want you all to subscribe. Come on, guys.
Yeah. So
every dollar counts. And Patreon. Should we talk about that?
Oh, you have a Patreon as well?
Yes. It's patreon.com/Jim Lujan.
Oh, cool.
$1 will feed me for a month.
What do I get for being a patron?
You get early access. Like you right now, if you were a patron right now, you could be watching the opening scene of The Mind of Lars Lazarus. It's posted on there.
There you go.
And you get artwork that nobody else gets. You get soon to be some audio. Well, you always get audio clips. I always post songs and stuff on there. You get all kinds of cool stuff.
Cool.
I'm thinking about going monthly. Right now I have it per project, but I do a project so infrequently that it's like I hardly ever collect. Yeah. And I'm wondering if I go monthly, it'll probably lower my patrons, but I don't know. I don't know yet.
But would it inspire you to produce more because you could?
Well, I'm going to be producing more, but what I want to do is I want to produce more first and then go monthly. Because then I could say, I deserve this. I deserve this.
I have a Patreon that is currently sitting empty that I never promote because I'm just one of those people that feels like I'm not worth promoting. But
Cory's super rich, everybody. He's a billionaire.
right, I teach for a living, thus I am.
All teachers are rich. It's everyone knows that. It's like football players, basketball players, teachers, baseball players.
Right. Yeah, we're just above the baseball players because they're America's pastime, but in the past, no one really cares anymore.
Teaching is America's pastime.
Yes.
By the way, I hope you were kind to all your teachers growing up, Cory, because now you are one.
I will tell you that I have apologized to many of my teachers for becoming a teacher.
Yes. One time, I'm going to share this one question with you. I had a teacher named Mr. McKinney, probably not alive. If he is, I hope he watches. And he told me, Mr. Lujan, there is no such thing as a dumb question. He told me that. He told everybody that, actually, in the class.
Right.
If you have a question, there's no such thing as a dumb question. It was an English class, and I asked the question, not to be funny, asked a real, genuine question.
Yeah.
And in front of the whole class, he goes, Mr. Lujan, Mr. Lujan, Mr. Lujan. And I thought, well, so much for no dumb questions, right?
I had a math teacher that would throw dry erasers at your head if you answered the question wrong.
Really?
Don't be a robot. And he was the football coach and the baseball coach, and he would just throw erasers. I don't think that would fly anymore, but 25 years ago it was fine.
Yeah.
All right.
All right there. Well, you guys, thank you for tuning in. Like I said, tell all your friends. If you're watching this in the future, greetings, future. Who wins the Super Bowl? I want to win some money.
Yeah, tell us in the past. But if you're watching this, we will monitor the comments. And so if you have any questions about animation, which would include how to do animation, anything from process to technical stuff. And I have started toying with the idea that I haven't talked to Jim about yet, and I'm now springing on him, of having a short, maybe 2 or 3 minute segment on this show of new techniques and things. And so there's a lot of cool stuff that's coming out on the iPad and for PCs and Macs and stuff that's making animation a lot easier. And so I think it'd be fun to kind of do little things. And if you want to watch this morning, I posted a video about Fresco, which is something that would tie into, it'll export PSDs and you can do live watercolor. And so I was looking at like Sam Keith's The Max was watercolor and then was converted into animation. And I thought, this is a way that you could do that. You could get the layers separated, you could do the watercolor, and then you could do it the same way that I do it, except it would be colored differently. So we'll probably be doing little tips and tricks. And so if you're like, I want to do an animation, which is the whole point of the show, is to get to people who want to do animations, but I don't know how to do X, ask us that in the comments. And we will tell you, I don't know, we just make it up.
Also, leave us some of the names of some of your favorite adult animations out there.
Yeah. So what's good? All right. We will catch you guys later. We'll see you.
Right.
Indie-mation.
Animation.
Indie-mation. Conversation.
Talking about moving pictures and cartoons.